Yeah, that would be great if we saw that. And of course, I think the storyline will be very interesting, probably just as entertaining, if not more entertaining, than John Cena and The Rock storylines. Because no matter if you like him or you don't, John Cena has been involved in some pretty entertaining storylines with the best names in professional wrestling. Everyone from Shawn Michaels right through to The Rock recently at WrestleMania's 28 through 29. Great storylines for John Cena's opponents and people to face John Cena. Likewise, so this one with John Cena and Sting will be just as impressive, if not far more impressive. It would definitely be off the chain, and it would leave images with still the minds of wrestling fans that it would talk about for years. They would tell their grandchildren about it if ever given the opportunity. I know I would if I ever saw Sting versus John Cena, because this is one of these matches that you never thought possibly would ever happen because of how Sting felt about WWE. But Sting signing with WWE, I'm going to go on record for saying, this proves that anything can happen in professional wrestling, and especially in the WWE, when wrestlers have made so far-fetched claims over the years. And I mean, the claim that Sting would never work for WWE was both far-fetched and so realistic. It was so believable that Sting wouldn't work for WWE because of how he felt about how Vince McMahon had treated Ted Turner and Eric Bischoff and how they went about purchasing WCW for the primary reason of the video library. If they ever were to release, say, a DVD on Sting's career or a DVD on Chris Benoit's career or a DVD on Eddie Guerrero's career, the only reason why they bought World Championship Wrestling was because of that video library. And now Sting is going back on his word because of how, WWE have signed all these big names from people like Goldberg right through The Rock to come back. Why not put Sting's name into the category of wrestlers who have stated things that didn't turn out to be true? I don't think fans are going to hold Sting accountable for saying that he never worked for Vince McMahon and then go back on his word and be proven out to be somewhat of a hypocrite. I don't think people are going to choose to, look at Sting like that. I think what they're going to look at is the product value, the product of Sting versus John Cena, and how much merchandise can be sold and how many pay-per-view buy rates can be generated because of this being the main event of an event like WrestleMania 31. And even if it doesn't happen, at least we have Sting versus Triple H to look forward to, which I'm sure I'll be doing more than one video blog on in the coming weeks. Now, do I have a favorite going into this match? I've always been a big Sting fan, and I've been watching Sting for years, ever before I knew who John Cena was. I got a glimpse of John Cena back in 2002 for the first time ever when he just got off being the prototype in Ohio Valley Wrestling, and he just recently came over from Ohio Valley Wrestling into WWE with the blue trunks, and he was facing, I think, A-Train in one of his first programs shortly after he debuted in July of that summer. I had a chance to see him. He didn't look very impressive, and I was thinking to myself, I would rather see someone like Steve Borden sign a contract with WWE and wrestle against names like Brock Lesnar when they were upstart talents, as opposed to seeing John Cena versus the likes of A-Train and Eddie Guerrero. It was years after John Cena got good. But when it comes to Sting, I saw Sting in the Ready to Rumble movie back in 1999. I saw all of his classic matches with people like The Giant, of course, The Big Show, Paul White, Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, Bret Hart, Goldberg. I saw all those matches in World Championship Wrestling, and that's what made me a big Sting fan. And I've always been a big Sting fan. So I'm all in for Sting signing with WWE. I'm not really critical towards Sting signing with WWE, but the one thing that I am critical towards when it comes to Sting is we need to know who Sting is going to face, even if it isn't Triple H or even if it is Triple H at WrestleMania 31, and we need to know when Sting is going to compete in WWE, because that's what wrestling fans are expecting to see now that Sting even more so has appeared at Survivor Series. We need to know who Sting is going to compete against and when Sting is going to compete against, even if it isn't at WrestleMania 31 coming up in 2015. Those are questions that have been unanswered ever since Survivor Series, and I think they've gone being unanswered because fans love to have conversations about, when will Sting wrestle and who will Sting wrestle against. And I think WWE really appreciates seeing conversation at all-time highs and reaching peaks on social media. There are endless amounts of tweets that are always tweeted on Twitter, especially about professional wrestling, and there are equal amounts of posts on Facebook, and they love that conversation in the universe. And as long as they can get that conversation within the universe, they're going to put off matches like John Cena versus Sting and Sting versus Triple H at whatever event they want to have it at for as long as they possibly can. If they can give Sting and Triple H or Sting and John Cena 4 or 5 months of promotion, they're going to go with that. They're not going to immediately give us Sting versus Triple H as early as TLC or the Royal Rumble. Although I was reading an article on ProWrestling.com, or I believe it was on Google, one of those two sources. I was reading an article about how TLC really was going to hype up the Royal Rumble and how Survivor Series had started, hyping up an event like the Royal Rumble, and by TLC, the road to the Royal Rumble would become clearer. And there were some interesting scenarios. They thought they would probably see Sting versus Triple H as early as the Royal Rumble, and then they'd make room for something like Sting versus either John Cena or Sting versus The Undertaker. And I think Sting versus The Undertaker would be a perfect WrestleMania feel match. It would give The Undertaker a reason to come back and possibly give us one more match. I mean, it's been the rumor for a long time that The Undertaker has one more match now ever since losing to Brock Lesnar earlier this year, and that one match would obviously be against Sting to retire The Undertaker. And it was interesting about Paul Heyman on Monday Night Raw when he dropped some comments about, making Sting the number one contender for the championship, and how if he fought Brock Lesnar, it would be a retirement match. I think the only way we'd be looking at a retirement match for Sting would be if he were to retire The Undertaker at WrestleMania 31. And the way to do that would be get Sting versus Triple H out of the way as early as a pay-per-view like TLC or the Royal Rumble. So I really appreciated that very informative article that I came across on either Google or ProfessionalWrestling.com. There was a lot of great news out there and a lot of great speculation going on right now with professional wrestling. Speculation and skepticism are at an all-time high when it comes to reading articles on professional wrestling news websites. Who would I like to see win this match? Definitely Sting. It would completely defeat the purpose of bringing Sting in if he were to lose against someone like Triple H or John Cena, and you better believe that Sting has not signed a contract to come in and lose. It would be more convincing if someone like Ric Flair were coming back. You'd believe that Ric Flair actually had a chance to lose his first match back. Well, when it comes to names like Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock recently, which is the biggest example, and especially Sting, they have not signed multi-million-dollar contracts and deals for numbers of years to come back and lose after it seems like forever since we've seen them. So I don't think for 1 minute Sting has signed a contract to face whoever he's going to face just to lose, because it would completely defeat the purpose of bringing Sting back. One thing I really didn't appreciate was how they put Sting in the WWE 2K15 video game. They over-promoted it. They had a teaser trailer with Sting, telling you to pre-order the game. It was a dead giveaway that Sting was going to sign with WWE and appear sometime either before the climax of 2014 was reached or we kicked off 2015. One thing about the new WWE video game prototype is they always put one big name in the video game, and that one big name is obviously someone who's going to return within the year that is forthcoming. We saw it with Brock Lesnar in WWE 12. We saw it with several wrestlers in WWE 13, and we saw it in WWE 14 with Batista recently being added to the Legends roster. And then in 2014, they bring him back. A rushed return nonetheless, but they did bring him back, and it lasted no time before he quit on WWE management after he won the Royal Rumble for the first time since 2005, becoming the, I think, fourth or fifth individual in history to win two Royal Rumbles. And now Sting, of course, is the latest name to be in a video game that has appeared on WWE television. So it can be summed up in one way and one way only, in my opinion. After seeing names like Brock Lesnar and Batista being added to the Legends roster, the video game is a dead giveaway and a real enticement as to who you can look forward to seeing in the forthcoming year. They'll probably do it again with WWE 2K16, which will be released this coming October. By the time the year is up and their contract comes to a time where they have to produce a new video game, and around September or October of 2015, we'll find out who that legend is going to be. But it was a dead giveaway, in my opinion. A lot of promotion went in to 2K15, and a lot of detail went into 2K15. I've reviewed this video game time and time again on YouTube, and I'll probably do it again when I play the game fully through and complete both season modes, and of course complete the the showcase mode and the career mode, which I'm really looking forward to for 2K15. I haven't played it in its entirety, but I am going to get to that. And when I complete the game fully through, I'm going to give a full detailed review of the video game. I have the graphics and stuff ready to go. But again, one of the downers of the video game is it really gives it away, who's going to come into WWE and stay there for the long haul. And I hope that Sting is one of those guys that does it. On a scale of 5 stars, you can easily rate Sting versus John Cena if it were to happen. Definitely 5 to 5 stars, because this is a match that's really only talked about in comic books or professional wrestling fantasy articles for Professional Wrestling Illustrated. Because this is a match that's only been talked about in comic books, like what would ever happen if Batman fought Spider-Man, because it has that kind of feel. What would ever happen if Superman and Batman collided, or Spider-Man and someone like, Batman collided in a one-on-one confrontation, because it has that kind of comic book feel. I think this match definitely can easily be rated 5 out of 5 stars, and I'm going to go with Sting in this match. And now you may be saying to yourself, you're going with Sting, you're choosing him over John Cena because we've heard your video blogs about how much you detest John Cena, how much you can't stand John Cena winning the title 14, 15 times, winning the championship, losing it, and winning it 3 weeks later at a pay-per-view. You hate John Cena, so that's why you're choosing Sting. But really what it comes down to at the end of the day and at the end of every video blog is I'm a huge Sting fan. So why would I go against Sting after claiming that I've been a Sting fan for years? Why would I turn on him and choose someone like John Cena? I'm not saying John Cena doesn't have a chance to win because he very well could defeat someone like Sting. But how can you go against Sting and not have him on your fantasy team when choosing predictions for pay-per-view matches as big as this one would be? That's guaranteed to generate over 2 or 3 million buys per pay-per-view. If WrestleMania can get 1 million pay-per-view buys regardless of what the main event is, it can easily get 2 or 3 million buys if Sting is headlining it against John Cena. So how can you go against someone like Sting, especially if this is Sting's first opponent and Sting's first match in a WWE ring? I don't see Sting losing his first match, and that's what it comes down to. It can be against Triple H, it can be against The Undertaker, and it can be against John Cena. And I don't see him losing his first match regardless of who it's against. You know, Paul Heyman can say a Sting-Brock Lesnar match would be a retirement match for Sting, but I really don't see Sting losing to Brock Lesnar for the championship. If he were named the new number one contender, say John Cena loses at TLC, and especially if it is Sting's first match in the WWE ring, it would be a big way of bringing Sting in, making him win the WWE Undisputed Championship from Brock Lesnar. It would solidify his name in history and definitely make him go down in history as being one of the greatest of all time, as if he hasn't already done it. But he's not going to lose his first match against whoever his first opponent is. And I want to know who you think that's going to be. So get in on the conversation about John Cena versus Sting, or who you think Sting's first opponent is going to be. If you have not subscribed to us, we are on Facebook at HEW Entertainment. You can follow our show's discussion on Twitter at Jonathan Clarke 1 with over 36,000 tweets. Checked that the other day. Was blown away at the over 36,000 tweets and how much you guys have been sharing our tweets we've been tweeting out on Twitter. So if you haven't subscribed to us, get that out of the way at Jonathan Clarke 1, and you can watch our show on YouTube with over